mitzvah that we perform during the time of Pesach, of Passover, and it culminates on Shavuot. That is called the counting of the Omer. And we count off the days, which are 49 days, 7 weeks, until we arrive at the holiday of Shavuot. And the idea behind that is that while the holidays of Pesach, or Passover, and the Sukkot have specific dates in the Torah, the holiday of Shavuot doesn't really have a date. Rather, it occurs 7 weeks after the holiday of Pesach. The idea behind that is that it's not really a separate holiday. It is really the culmination of the event of the Exodus from Egypt. And the idea behind that is the purpose of the Exodus from Egypt was for the Jews to be free. But the Torah has a very unique concept of freedom. And that is that physical freedom per se, where you have nobody ruling over you, that's not the ultimate ideal of freedom. Freedom is a condition of man. It's a state of the soul in which he's not held back from fulfilling his nature by any kind of internal or external forces. If a person is addicted to something that dominates him, and he has to behave in certain kinds of ways or indulge certain types of desires, he has no choice. If he loses his choice, if a person doesn't have a choice, he's a slave. Whether it's to an external oppressor or whether it's to an internal force, addiction. So the freedom from slavery only became possible when the Jews gathered on Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. Because the Torah is really the ultimate source of freedom, because it guides man towards living the kind of life he was intended to lead. It frees the soul and enables the person to obtain the discipline over his instincts, the wisdom to determine how he should live his life, what goals he should pursue. That's possible only if a person has wisdom. And that's why the holiday of Shavuot is the culmination of the holiday of Passover, because it's only on Shavuot, when we receive the Torah, that we obtain the true possibility of being a free, independent nation that lives according to the highest possible standards of human existence. That's a very, very important idea. And it's very relevant to the situation in America. Because you see how important that is. You just take a look at the behavior of the students. The worst outbreak of violence and vicious anti-Semitism, where did it come from? From the institutions of higher learning. Amazing thing. And in these institutions, the so-called professors, the so-called teachers are not liberating the students, they're enslaving them. They're indoctrinating them. They're not teaching them. They're not training them to use their minds and go beyond their prejudices and be able to obtain a view of an objective truth, whether it conforms to their desires or not. That is a contrast. It's very, very important. Many Jews now that were not really that committed to Judaism, as a result of all of this hatred directed against the Jew, they've begun to reappreciate, to rediscover their Jewishness, to assert their Jewishness. Sometimes people do not assert it until it's threatened. When it's threatened and people say, no, we're against Jews, that's when many people return. And there has been a new birth, so to speak, of pride, of Jewish pride, of reasserting one's Jewish heritage. And it should go further than that. This is a perfect time, because every day we count off the day. And this is the first day of the Omer. This is the second day of the Omer. And the point of that is, so we should prepare. We need to prepare ourselves. You can't just be given the Torah in a vacuum. You have to get ready. You have to prepare. And there's no better way of doing that than by opening a book. Opening a book about Judaism, about Torah, joining a Torah group, a class, or getting together with friends. We have what's called the Chavruta. Friends study Torah together. And when you study Torah, you start to ask questions, you start to analyze, you become much sharper, and you become wiser, and you begin to recognize the tremendous treasure that we have. It's not by accident that the Jews have contributed to society, to knowledge, to science, more than any other group in terms of the proportion of the population. And from generation generation, we've had the greatest scholars, the greatest wise men of any people teaching us, enlightening the world. So while this has been a negative experience, sometimes it takes a negative experience for people to appreciate who they truly are. Not just that, but to reap the benefits of this heritage, which is open for everyone.